welcome everybody. Tonight we have a very special guest, and I know several people are in that phase of their dissertation process where they are doing chapter 2, or perhaps you're in a different part of your dissertation process, maybe chapter 5, and you're having to go back through and do some more searching. Now, every time I've attended a library webinar, I learn more about the resources that we have available to us. So I'm super happy to be here and to hear from our librarian and really just to soak up all the things that are offered to us here. So I'll pass you the baton so that you can take over. Do you need anything else? Are you good? Should we go around the room, or are we? I was gonna say, we don't all have all that much time, and I know there's a lot that you have to share. So I'll just zip and pass the baton to Anne-Marie McLean.
Excellent. Thank you. It's good to see everybody. I feel like I haven't seen humans in a week. I've been home in the snow. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to just introduce myself very quickly. My name is Anne-Marie. I come from Atlanta, Georgia, where I was working at Emory University Libraries in a variety of capacities. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm really glad the session was set up. I think it's so important that library resources are introduced very early on in the process because it's very hard to catch up once you're ahead. So I'm excited to share with you what we have. With that, let's see, I'm going to stop my video. Can everyone see Google? Excellent. Glad to hear it. Okay. So, how do we start? By getting to the library in the first place. So, there are a couple ways to do this. I know most of you probably have your landing page for the University of the Cumberlands bookmarked. I go there so much, my thing remembers that I go there. So there's a way to get, 2 ways to get to the library from here. One, you can add on library to the end of that .edu, and you'll get directly to the library landing page. Alternatively, you can go to academics and Grover M. Herman Library, and we get to the same page. So one more time from Google, I went to the University of the Cumberlands.edu, ucumberlands.edu. I either added library to the end of the URL, or I went to academics and found the library right here. Important thing to distinguish. This is where you land for the library page. As you can see, it has a couple of buttons and it has a large search box. This is the search for our library catalog, things we own both physically and electronically. If you know exactly what you're looking for, say you're looking for a copy of Moby Dick, this is where you can go to find where that resource might be located. If, on the other hand, you're sort of at the beginning of your research, you don't know exactly what you're looking for, I recommend using our blue button right here, the big blue button. We tried to make it as big as we could. That is going to have research guides and library resources. So become a friend to this button. You could also bookmark this little guy if you wanted to, because that really takes us to where we're linking out to all of our library resources. So that's directional how we get here. That's the first step. I want to tell you a little bit about what's available to you at the library, and then we're going to move into evaluating resources, searching for resources, and looking at strategies and places to do so. I definitely want to get a few of your topics in at the end, so I'll try to make this first portion brief. So you'll see some related links at the top of this page. This page is what we call a research guide or a LibGuide. So if you hear me refer to that, that's what I'm talking about. These are essentially website pages that librarians have gone in and put together for the people that are using the library to help them with their research. You'll find them at every university. Sometimes you can make good use of other libraries' research guides. Tons of stuff out there. But for our purposes, here we are on the LibGuides for the University of the Cumberlands. You'll find the menu over here. That's going to lead you to a variety of services or resources, the most important being how you get in touch with us. So, 2 ways to do so. If it is during staffed hours, which are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Sunday, 1 to 9 p.m., then you can chat with a librarian live. You're going to do that here. Don't get this mixed up with this. This chat is not the same chat as the library chat. I'm not sure who you're going to get in touch with, but it's not us. So do not use that chat. We go back to here. So it's going to introduce itself as the chatbot, your friendly neighborhood chatbot. He has a few FAQs, frequently asked questions, stored inside of him. So we're going to say, I do need more help. If it happens to be a question that we've answered quite a few times, we've probably made it into a quick little chatbot answer right here. So you could click on that resource. It's going to give you that information and ask if it was helpful or not. If you want to talk to a real librarian, you have the option to do that. It's going to check and see if we have any operators online right now. I can tell you that we don't because I'm the only librarian here, so it would be a little too difficult, but you'll be able to chat just like you would with any other service, Spectrum, all of those other services. And you can either talk out a problem or you could schedule a time to talk over the phone, schedule a Zoom consultation so you can do research together, all that fun stuff. If a librarian is not on here live, don't worry, we are still in the stratosphere. What's going to happen is that your question is going to be submitted in more like an email form. So there are 2 places to do that. You can do so here and ask a librarian, or it will ask you to submit your question here if there's no librarian online. Just see what that looks like really quick. Put information about yourself, that always helps us, and then what you might need. So that is the fastest way to get in touch with us. It's going to be faster than emailing me directly because this form goes to all of our librarians. So whoever is there at the time can grab it and answer it, no matter who might be out that day. So this is the way I recommend you get in touch with us. That way you are connected to a full team of librarians who are ready to help. You, of course, are welcome to give us a call if you would rather talk over the phone. Like I said, research consultations are often better done over Zoom. And of course, we would love to see you here. So if you would like to visit us, I have many chairs around my desk for us to hold up and do some fun searching. So that's how we get in touch with librarians. Citation help. We're going to talk a little bit more about citations next week when we discuss, or sorry, I'm not even sure if it's next week. The next session we have, we will talk about academic writer and other citation help. But just know that this little guide is here. It's going to give you links to most of the prominent manuals of style and even some getting started guides if you're new. So keep in mind, this does exist. All citation questions actually get answered through the Learning Commons. And let me show you their information here. Learning Commons. Unfortunately, that's a very broad phrase. It's just telling someone I can't type in public. Okay, so here we are, the Learning Commons. These guys are going to be who helps when you have direct citation questions. You'll see there's an email address here, and there's even a phone number just for graduate students. So they have someone dedicated to helping you guys out with that. So do remember that they are a resource we absolutely suggest you use. They are in person, actually right below us in the library, and they're fantastic folks. So a little plug for the Learning Commons, good friends, collaborate a lot. But that is our citation and plagiarism guide. As you can see, we have some videos, some resources for government documents, but that's what that tab is. We also have a tab for all of our ebook collections. I'm not going to open that up now because we're limited on time, but that's going to show you which collections are held where and how much you can download out of ebooks. We have a feedback form. We, of course, would love to hear from you if there's something we're not covering, if there's a resource that you think we need that we don't have. We are here to serve you. So please don't hesitate to let us know. The only way we can get better is by knowing exactly what you guys need and want. So don't hesitate to use that form. Interlibrary loan. I'm sure some of you have already discovered that oftentimes your campus library, no matter if you're here or at Yale or Emory, doesn't have everything you need. It's just not possible. And that's why God invented interlibrary loan. So interlibrary loan is essentially a network of colleges and universities that allows them to share resources within copyright with other institutions. So you can do this in a couple of ways. If there's a book that we do not have that you would like a full copy of, you can do an interlibrary loan book request. Do keep in mind that it's coming snail mail, media mail, I think is the term they use. So it's going to be slower than if you were to do a book chapter, an essay, or a article request. That's because these article and book chapter requests are going to come in PDFs. So they're going to come as a document that's going to be directly sent to you once the resource arrives. Usually 2 to 5 business days, and we'll have that for you if you're doing one of those types of requests. I'll also share that oftentimes it's hard to digest whole books if you don't have to. So getting articles and chapters is a really good strategy for research. So that's interlibrary loan. If you have more questions, Jan Wren, who's our library director, is the point person for that. Her information is here. And we're more than happy to work with you to find whatever you might need for your research. And we're back here. We do have laptop checkouts here. If you happen to be on campus and you need a machine for a couple of hours, we of course have them in the library, and we also have these laptops that you can check out. Like I said, it's just an hourly checkout, so it's not meant to replace your machine, but it's certainly helpful. Like I said, if your laptop happens to die and you don't have a charger, or you just need a machine for a couple of hours. Go back to here. Library orientation sessions, excuse me. These are recordings that are done for not only graduate students, but also undergrads. I'm going to show you where your recordings are going to be that are more specific to dissertation students. So hold off on that. Library tutorials, you're going to find on every guide. It gives you boxes with some things we're actually going to talk about today. Advanced searches, popular versus scholarly resources, all that type of stuff. And finally, we do have a makerspace on campus. I don't know if any of you have ever played around with a 3D printer or button maker, but we've got all of that and more. So if you're on campus and feeling creative, do take advantage of that resource. It's right here in the library. All right, so looking down, library hours. This is going to let you know when the building is open. It does not mean that necessarily a librarian is going to be in the building. Like I said, we're generally here Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, Saturday 1 to 9, and Sunday 1 to 9. So that is the library hours. And then up here, you're going to find a box that links you to some very helpful resources. So let's talk about databases in general. People get a little bit anxious about databases, and there is no reason to. As long as you understand what they are and how they're operating, you'll be much better friends with them. So a database is essentially just a collection of organized information that is searchable. So you use them all the time. You use it on Amazon, you use it on iTunes. You're very familiar with how databases work. The trick is here at the University of the Cumberlands, as you're doing your dissertation, your databases are going to be of a more academic variety, right? Specifically have things, things collected in the databases, records that have to do with mostly scholarly resources on specific subjects. Now might be a good time to talk about a scholarly versus a popular resource. Can anybody give me a, let's see, do I even have a chat here? Anybody give me a guess on what factors might point toward a scholarly versus a popular resource?
There's a chat. We can definitely engage in that. And Anne-Marie, I don't know if it's possible for you maybe to do Control Shift Plus and make your screen just a little bit bigger. The font is kind
Absolutely.
of small.
There we go.
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Much better. Okay. I'm looking for my chat and now I can't.
Yeah, so Christopher said peer
There it is.
review.
Yes, peer review. So that means that a circle of scholars of a similar field are looking at what's being published and vetting it. The peer review process as a way to make sure that the information is viable within a certain field. Peer review is an absolute correct answer for that. The way articles even look, we'll look at an example coming up in a few, is going to tell you whether it might be scholarly or popular. Say you're looking at a article in Glamour magazine versus a scholarly article. Articles that are not scholarly are often going to be a little bit more flashy, maybe that glossy paper. They might have more images, they might have ads. You're not going to see ads in scholarly sources. So let that be an indicator for you. And oftentimes scholarly sources are going to be a lot longer and more in-depth than popular sources. So that's why we're zoning in on these databases. That's why we're forcing you to search in here and not just in Google, because it's going to narrow the scope of what you're looking at already. Okay. So here are all the databases that we subscribe to at the University of the Cumberlands. Keep in mind that these databases are expensive and information itself is very expensive. Part of your tuition is going to making these resources available to you. You're not going to have them once you graduate unless you work in a library like me. I never lose my resources. But take advantage of them now because, like I said, information is expensive and you're often not going to have access like you do now in your future. So this is our entire list. Can I write a popular dissertation? I like it. We'll let your advisor decide. So as you can see, quite a few options. Some indicate what subject they might be gearing towards. Psychology here, statistics, higher education. So if you happen to know what database is prominent in your field, find it and go for it. Say, for example, that I know I'm doing a theology paper and I know ATLA is probably the best place, the most comprehensive to search. The link is going to be directly here. It is going to ask you for your UC credentials. Like I said, that's how we pay for that. You're logging in, and it's going to bring you directly to the database. If you don't know what databases are prominent in your field, that's okay too. We have, for that exact purpose, made the lovely things I was explaining earlier called research guides just for you. So like I said, a research guide is created by librarians and it brings together resources and links that are going to help you in your studies. So as you can see down here, we have something that might be of interest to you folks. We have a counseling research guide. Let's click on that one, shall we? Okay, here we are. So every guide is going to look very similar. The top resources, you're going to find interlibrary loan in case you need it. You're going to find what is recommended. Usually these are databases. So there we've done the work for you. Here are the databases that are recommended for this particular subject. And then some research basics for each discipline. And of course, our lovely librarians you can contact. So these are databases that we suggest you start with. If we go to the articles and more, oftentimes that's even more suggested databases. So keep that in mind. We do have a books and ebooks section for most guides, and these should lead you directly to the resource. For example, the group therapy treatment planner. And it takes you right there to the resource. As you can see, we have quite the variety of treatment planners linked in here. And then, of course, links to collections. So if you need something that's a reference work, which essentially is a work that generally describes a topic, you'll be able to find that over here. If you're looking for video or even music, here are some resources for you. Keep those in mind. Web pages, so these are going to be things that are beyond UC. So if we wanted to check out the American Psychological Association, here we are. You'll find they have their own page and resources galore. Any government documents that might be relevant to that subject. For this, we get some mental health stats, some resources specific to Kentucky, mentalhealth.gov. So those are places you can go outside of the Cumberlands for the most part. You're going to have the tutorials that are most relevant to your subjects. So in this case, the APA psych test is most relevant, and that citation bar that you've already seen. So that is not the only research guide we have. Clinical psychology, health and human performance, missions and ministry, all of these guides are filled with resources just for you. I do want to mention in particular the qualitative and quantitative research guides. These are very important because we're going to have keywords for you to look at, and this is going to be both in the qualitative and quantitative guides. So it's going to link you to those top databases, but give you some vocabulary to search with. Oftentimes people get stuck in searching because of vocabulary, which we'll talk about in a bit. But that's going to be a big help for you guys. On the quantitative guide, you're going to find resources like the G-Power calculator, and direct links and journals and databases. I will mention the Little Green Books collection and the Little Blue Books collection. If you don't already know about these guys, they're series of books on topics related to either quantitative or qualitative research. Examples, explanations, and procedures. They're all housed in a database that's called Sage Research Methods Core. I'm just going to give you a quick walk around in this database. It's unlike other databases in that this is a database to learn about doing research as opposed to doing your research in. So this would not be the place for me to look up adolescent addiction treatment. This would be a place for me to find information about the particular type of test that I've chosen, my methodology, all that kind of stuff. So as you can see, the Little Green Books themselves, there's dozens and dozens of them on every topic under the sun that you can think of. You can, of course, search in the top. So say I'm looking at focus groups. We're going to get some resources about doing focus groups and using focus groups. So this is a really expansive library, and it specifically was purchased, I think, for the dissertation students. So we hope you take advantage of this. It has some tools that you can use. It has a methods map that's going to help you with vocabulary as well. So say we're looking at phenomenology. I'm so glad it doesn't make me spell it. There we are. And we search. And it's going to give you broader terms, narrower terms, and related terms if there are any. So this is going to be the place where you're learning how to do research, resources for that. Any questions about Sage Research Method? I encourage you to just play around with it. Oh, let's see. Can you go back about 2 to 3 steps to repeat that? Let's see. where I have come from and where I have gone. I've gone from this library page to here. I went to my research guides. This is going to be the collections of resources. I went to our qualitative or quantitative guide, one of the two. Navigated here. And I was looking at this little green books collection, which took me directly to Sage, but that's also just going to be one of the databases that you can choose from in here. So here is where I would find the whole database if I wanted to go directly there to do some research.
It is also linked, just so everybody knows, in the UC Doctoral Research Center, which will be, if it's not in your class, will be showing up soon.
Excellent, love it. So that's our SAGE research methods. Like I said, not for doing research in, but learning about research. And finally, we have a brand new research guide that is just for you guys, dissertation students. So if you come here, it's going to have some of the things you've already seen, links to guides and to databases. It's going to show you where you can find dissertations, resources on dissertation writing, general points here. This is where you're going to come for your library orientation recording. This is actually a recording by Carrie Bird. She did last semester, but I will update it with one for dissertation students from this semester. So that is where you can go. Like I said, the other library tutorials on this page is more so towards general audiences, undergraduates, but your guys, it's special, so you can come here. I'm going to skip over tutorials. Like I said, a lot of it we'll be talking about today, but it's a great place to go back and to review. You've seen this guy quite a few times now. And here I've even linked to the quantitative and qualitative research guides in addition to the applied research guide. You can also find the SAGE research methods core here and those little green and little blue books that I talked about. Finally, we have our testing instruments and measurements. So we're starting to get a lot of questions about this and where you guys are in your dissertation writing, finding instruments, evaluating instruments, all the fun stuff. So this is a landing page to help you get through that. We have 3 databases we recommend. Each do a different thing. So the first place to start looking for a testing instrument would be APA CiteTest. That's also going to be linked, as you can see in our databases here. Everything there will be here. We try to make it appear as much as we can. But this is a repository for tests and measures. So I'm just going to go ahead and demo what a search for a test would look like very quickly. It's going to bring you into this database and say we are looking for, let's see, senior attitudes. We have a faith development scale. We love when we see PDF full text. That's a great thing for us because it means that the whole instrument, hopefully, is there. So I'm going to go with this record. Clicking on the title brings you to a page about the resource. It gives you metadata if you want to get, in technical terms, information about this information. So particularly for tests, yeah, that's correct, Stephen. You were getting ahead of me there, talking about validity and reliability. You will have entries for validity and reliability here, but we'll look at some other places that you can go to evaluate tests. You'll notice there's permissions listed, or are there? I might have already passed them. Usually there are permissions listed. Here, let me see. Ah, there they are. I just missed them. Here it says we're going to have to contact the publisher. Some say that you can go ahead and use it, don't have to do anything. In this case, it wants you to contact the publisher. That is where this information is really important, the author, the affiliations, and the correspondence. You might need to contact these guys either to get permissions or to get more materials. For example, if the PDF is incomplete, you might contact them. So know that that could be something you might be looking at doing for certain tests. If you want to find the actual test itself, the scale, we look at our PDF. That's our favorite thing. We give it a second to think about it. And here we are. So what you see is what you get. This is what we have. Version 3. This is a good place to show you where you can export citations. Like I said, we're going to talk about citations later, but almost in any database, it's going to give you an option to do so. So it's a different icon in every one, but it's essentially exporting a citation. That way you can upload it later in your citation management software. So just keep in mind, any database you look in, you're going to be able to export citations and make your life a little bit easier. So that is where we can look for tests. You also can search in ProQuest dissertations and theses. They will often include copies of the instruments used because they're not subject to those space limitations of journal articles. So that's a place to search a little bit more. I'm not going to demo that. It's very similar to other databases. And we have the Mental Measurements Yearbook and Tests in Print, which I think somebody already mentioned is sort of like the consumer reports of tests. So it's a place to go to learn about your test, see what has been written. If you need help on finding surveys, on finding articles discussing your instrument, we do have PDFs and videos that are tutorials for you that break it down into steps. So do take advantage of those, but also don't hesitate to contact us if you're having trouble with anything that has to do with testing instruments and measurement. Any questions on that? Remember, it's all here to go back to, so you don't have to memorize anything.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm assuming the answer already, but if I find a dissertation that has a test that I want to use, but the test requires permission from the publisher to reproduce it, I imagine I can't use it from the dissertation because I have to use original sourcing and I would have to get permission. So I see the professors all nodding yes. So I'm trying to break the law where I can, but I just wanted to check. Thanks.
I mean, you could contact the publisher and probably pay a bunch of money to use it again. But yeah, that's something that's another situation where you might be contacting the author if it says something like permission with author use. So do stay within the law. Nobody wants to get called out for any type of copyright. It's just not a good look.
And Stephen, I will say also that some of the tasks the publishers will allow for the use of research free. So again, don't avoid contacting the publisher. Just let them know it's for a dissertation for research purposes. They appreciate those things being publicized. So check it out before you assume that it's going to be a problem.
Since undergrad, I've used Carolyn Dweck's work, her testing for growth mindset. And it got to the point in my master's program where, I'd ask for permission. They'd say, "Oh, you again, absolutely." And they were very friendly about it. So I imagine some places charge and some places are difficult, but so far my experiences have always been really pleasant.
Yep.
Yes, actually, I was so scared the first time I contacted someone for a resource in a situation like that. And usually the authors are very willing to work with you and cooperate. So don't be afraid to make that part of your research journey. I just went to another test here.
I'd be really flattered. I'd be like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, thinking some student somewhere wants to use my work, that would be great.
Exactly. That is the whole reason we do research, right? To sort of keep this scholarly conversation going. So here, just another example of permissions may use for research or teaching. So that's a good example of that. All righty. Moving right along, we have looked at where to find the databases. We've looked at where to go if you're not sure which database to use. And now I want to do some actual searching inside databases to help you guys really see the process and the messiness that can sometimes come with doing searching. So somebody give me a topic in the chat. It can be something you're working on. If so, I'm going to be doing research for you. Adultification. Okay, that's a topic I've never gotten before. Biracial, these are so much better than my last session. Proud of you guys. Okay, so let's see. Adultification. Destiny, tell me a little bit about, or was that a joke topic or was that a real topic?
No,
Oh,
it's a real
okay,
topic.
it's a real topic. Someone laughs, I wasn't sure. Okay, so adultification.
Ye-
What
Yeah,
we're going to be looking in counseling area for this. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the.
yes, certainly. Counseling, sociology, it's
Mhm.
Maybe human development, something
Okay.
like that. Mhm.
Excellent. So already off the bat, we've got choices about where we search. I might start with UC Search because it indexes articles from our databases. So you can go directly to the database, but you can also start here to see if it's popping up. This also searches our catalog, so it's everything UC has access to, which is a good place to start as well. So I'm going to put in here adultification. Did I spell that right? I did. And look, there are results, 128 results. So this is what we're going to see when we get our results. I'm going to give you a little lay of the land. If you want to limit to peer-reviewed articles, so we make sure we have scholarly sources, we can apply that filter. For most of your work, you're going to want to research within the last 5 years, unless you're looking for a sort of standard resource, I'm blanking on the word right now, but a foundational resource. For example, if you're using Freud and you want to find one of his works, you wouldn't limit to 1991. Seminal, thank you. Oh, that was going to bother me all night. Seminal work. Okay, so here, let's change our date to 2019. Good year. That's going to limit our search to 31. So the more filters you add, the less results you're going to get, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on how many results you're getting in the first place. I'm just going to point out that we have the ability to sort by language. So if you don't want to get anything that's not in English, if you're working on theology, you might get a lot of German, for example. You can filter by that. It's going to have journal titles, subjects, and these are all going to bring you to sort of a new search, like for social sciences, for emotions, and you can limit to resource type. You might see a lot more types in here. It's just that we've already limited our search to those articles. So if I went back and I take away peer-reviewed, I'm going to get a few more types of resources. As you can see here, this is a little book and we have articles. So to learn about the resource, once again, we click inside of the title. That gives us information about what we are looking at, and it also gives us the links to get there. So like I said, the UC catalog is indexing things that we have access to, and it will give you the place that it's hosted, which is a database. And we come full circle. So say we want to take a look at this article. It's going to ask you to log in if you have not, so be prepared for that. And it brings us directly to our work here. I want to point out once again that you can export your citation here. If you want to share this link with others, you're always going to want to use a permalink. I also recommend doing that if you're making a list of your resources and you want to go back to it. These links are not going to rot. Link rot is when essentially a link goes bad. Permalinks work against that. So use those guys, don't ever use that guy. As we move through here, if we decide we like this article a lot, we should always go to the end, because that is where our references are listed. If you like an article, chances are you're going to want to read more about what that article is discussing. For example, we're going to read more about, we want to read this direct resource for our own research. References are going to be your best friend. They're doing the research for you. You're capitalizing on something that you already know is a good match. So if, for example, we wanted to go and find this particular article, I could copy the title. I could go back into the library catalog and see if we own that article. And look, we do. So I've come in a little sort of research circle. Once your sources all start citing the same thing, you know you've done a good job. So that is capitalizing on a resource. I also want to mention that in the detailed record, it's going to give you vocabulary that librarians or other metadata specialists have assigned to that article. It's easiest to explain as essentially a tag. So you can, for example, see, okay, adultification is a tag in this database. Let's see what other things are tagged with adultification. We have 3. Excellent. So that's how to capitalize on a resource you've already found. Keep in mind that the words you're using to search might not always be the words that others are designating or using for another area. So for example, if I'm looking at, I'm not sure I'll find anything in here, but we're searching the sociological collection, so we might something about poverty. Okay. A better way to search about, or an alternative way to search about poverty could be any of these. These are also just related terms. I was looking to see, get a more specific. Here we go. So it's also been talked about as poor children, child poverty, child allowances. So that's a way to expand if you're getting stuck on your search and not finding much of anything. Let's go back to adultification. So there are a couple of strategies for searching that I want to make sure you're aware of before we leave today. The most important being Boolean searching. It is essentially comes from algebra logic, and it uses and, or, and not to help with your search. And is going to say anything that has this and that. So any and you add is probably going to make your results fewer. So if I do adultification and religion, I only get 1 result. Or is going to let you provide an alternative. So if, for example, we wanted adultification, or we would also be happy with adult life, we get many, many more results. So or is a way to adjust our vocabulary. If we were doing university, we might put or college. The last one, not, isn't used quite as frequently, but it can eliminate things that you keep getting that you do not want. So say I'm researching genetics, but I do not want anything about cloning. That's when I would add a not here. I have no idea what we'll get. Oh, look at there. We got some results. So that's how to use our Boolean operators. You can also play with words in another manner. So let me show you one example. We can use quotation marks to keep phrases together. What's wrong with not that there's anything really wrong with this, but actually let me choose a better phrase. Let's see, one that actually makes sense. Emotional intelligence, much better. If I search like this, it's not necessarily bad, but it's going to search everything that has emotional and intelligence. If we put quotations around that, it's going to keep it as a phrase and only look for them together. So if I search here, it's probably going to limit my results. Yes, indeed. So that's a way to keep words together and phrases. There are a couple other tricks for searching. Say you have a word, you are looking up something on psychology. We could look at psychology, but we also want to find if anything's psychological, psychiatry, other endings of that word. We would use an asterisk. That's going to essentially tell the system anything with this beginning and that has any end. So psychiatry, psychological, psychiatric. It works well for if you're looking Bible, biblical, if you put it here. So that's a little trick for you. There's also a wild card, not like Uno. That's going to help you if you're doing a search for women and poverty. Search here, we get 915 results. If we also wanted to search for woman, we don't necessarily have to put it down here. We could put a question mark here, and it's going to fill in whatever letter. So that's going to cover woman and woman. That is Boolean searching. Any questions thus far? Let's see. Yes, you absolutely do have to correct citations. Any citation manager, as Stephen mentions, is only as good as the metadata it's pulling from. So always go back and double check your citations. And we'll talk a little bit more about that next time. All right. So did I have another topic that was thrown out here that I can do? What about multi-subject matters, spirituality, trauma? Excellent question. So there are strategies you can use to cover all the bases, if you will, of a topic. So say I am looking at church finance. That is our topic. I could go to our databases. Where did they go? Not you, you. And I could, of course, look in the religion database. ATLA religion has to have something about church finance in there. I get this many results. If I wanted to be a responsible searcher, I would put quotations around here. Excellent. So we get this many results. A lot of them are going to be from a religious standpoint, but this topic also has a business undertone, finance. So we go to another database to see what's out there in a business search. Here we go, Business Source Premier. We're going to see if they have anything about church finance. And looky there, we're getting results both in a business database and in a religion database because our topic is coming from two different areas. And most of your topics are combining different subject matters, different phrases, different words. So that's a really fantastic question. Always think about where you could look that sort of hits every part of your topic.
How's that different from using the main research bar that you used before you went into before you went into this window?
How is this different than, for example, here?
Yes, where it pulls up from different databases.
Let's see. So this, if I'm understanding your question correctly, this is the library catalog, and it will index things that are the same things that you'll find in the databases. It's just giving you the location of them. So that's what the catalog is doing. Sort of the articles live in the databases, and that's what the catalog sends you to, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
I guess, yes.
I know it's a little bit confusing because I'm talking about different types of databases. Of course, this is a database, but this is going to be anything UC owns, and it's going to give you a link to get there. But you can also get there directly by going to a database. Same thing.
Can I answer that in another way that might be helpful?
That would be fantastic.
If I go to the main library search and I'm searching for a particular article, that article will come up. But if I go into one of the databases like PsycInfo or something, and I type it up, I can go into much more detail about what it is I'm looking for. And,
Mhm.
I may find a whole bunch of other articles that are just as useful to me as that one.
Exactly.
Does that kind of make sense? If I just want that article, period, it's just quickest to type that into the
Mhm.
name into that search right there that we see. But if I'm
Exactly.
going into more detail, like looking for similar articles and all kinds of other information about the article, then I would use a database.
If you're looking for a scope of the material in that subject matter as opposed to a specific material.
Mhm. And you can also look through a scope of material here. But yeah, this is the best way to find known items. You would call that a known item search. As opposed to, let's just start with a topic and see where we get. Does anybody have a last search topic for me to demo for them? I've got too many tabs open.
No, but one question, Anne Marie, that might be helpful to answer is from Christopher is, can they search UC graduate dissertations through the library?
Excellent question. That is actually on your dissertation guide itself. So if you're looking for dissertations by UC students, you have to contact your department chair. We do not have an archive of those. If you're looking for a dissertation by anyone else and any other institution across the globe, that's when you would look at ProQuest dissertations and theses. So ones by UC students, contact department chair. Anything else, ProQuest.
And that is also because UC does not publish your dissertations on ProQuest.
That is true. Some people have been sneaky and have got them on there, but as a general rule. And does the same filtering process apply to searching different dissertations? Can we search? Oh, sorry, that's what we were just talking about. Okay. Excellent. I will mention that I think I said this earlier, research is messy. So don't be afraid if you get into a database and you're getting no hits. It could just be you need to move things around. So if I'm looking for something that's way too specific, there's environment and logging. I'm not going to get much. But if I take away a term, I'm going to get more. Or if I add a synonym, I'm going to get more. So the research process is going to be messy like that. It's going to be figuring out what words are getting you what you need, figuring out how other people are talking about those things through things like keywords, bear populations, for example, here. So don't be afraid if you don't get hits immediately. And come to us because we will help you find those hits. Any other questions?
Yes. Okay. If I've searched for articles and they don't show up as an IL option, can I still request an interlibrary loan?
So you're talking about in here. If I
Yes.
look for, if I find something, if I can find anything here. And if an ILO button doesn't pop up, is that what you mean?
Right.
Yeah, so if, oh, excellent. Something we don't have. Let's see, probably want to sign in. So yes, sometimes you can do a digitization request or you might see interlibrary loan. If you don't see that, that's fine. Just go to interlibrary loan here and go to the form and they'll just ask you to put in what information you have.
Okay.
So you don't have to go from a link in the catalog. You could ILL something. We'll of course check to make sure we don't have it first. But that's how you would do it manually, I guess, if you wanted to call it that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Great question. Any others?
So I guess part of it is a recommendation or request
It's 9 o'clock.
being able to find an item that is not there and being able to hit a button that pre-populates all the requested items. Versus again, I find an item and I have to request it, I have to type all this information in versus being able to use that metadata to just populate it and it goes straight to you guys. Is that something that's possible you're looking into?
Yeah, so if the ILL button appears on a resource like this, it would pull in the metadata. I'm not sure if that button does come up for resources. I might have to check with that and get back to you. But no matter what, if we don't have it, you can always go to these forms. It's going to be a little bit more manual labor because it's not auto-populating.
Okay.
Great question.
One question
Anything else, guys?
I saw a question from Christopher about filtering processes applying to searching for different dissertations. In each of the databases, I know for like PsycInfo, for example, there usually is something on the left where you can narrow your search down to books, dissertations, articles, that sort of thing.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I
So you can
can populate
filter.
those by dissertation.
Yeah, you can filter by resource type. In the ProQuest database, it's gonna give you those same filtering options that you'll see in any other database. So here, you're already looking for databases. If you're in the catalog, I can't think of any words when I'm searching in front of people. Resource type here is where you would limit your search. If it doesn't show up, it means we don't have any of that thing for that particular search. So here I don't see any, oh, I do see dissertations. What do you know? And that's how you can limit in the library catalog. All right, well, I know that we are officially out of time. You guys are always welcome to contact me and ask a librarian. Please do, please set up consultations. Sometimes it's good to have two heads sort of tackling a topic. But I will see you in
Next week.
next time. Yes, next week.
All right. Thank everybody for coming here. Be sure to check your Blackboard for future sessions. And Anne Marie, thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye.